Welcome to a new daily top Askreddit video. Today's topic: what's the biggest turn-off when you're talking with someone new? Inability to disconnect from social media for even a short period of time. This falls into this category, but last year I drove an hour to see someone for a third date just for them to sit on their phone texting their friends on Instagram. Then he made plans with them and had me drop him off for them. Username checks out. They don't give and take in the conversation. They don't reciprocate the questions I'm asking them. I've had many a date where if I wasn't talking there would have been silence, and I'm not a big talker. If I wasn't asking questions they wouldn't be interacting at all. I had this in a date 2 nights ago. I'm a big talker and I felt I was being egocentric because the guy wouldn't engage too much with my telling. I tried to ask him about his stuff, but he would answer in less than a minute and not really saying much to flesh out about him. I felt I could only know more by making an interrogatory, and that isn't nice. He said he was a better listener than talker. I felt drained afterwards since I carried 70% of the conversation. I feel bad cause I'm a really socially awkward person and tend not to talk much in a conversation. Funny how my circle of friends mostly consists of big talkers. I guess I gravitate towards people who fill the void. When you ask all the questions, they don't ask anything back and feels like an interview. Edit: damn, I didn't expect this to blow up, glad we can all relate. I was at an icebreaker for a social club and there was this guy who only gave one-worded answers or yes/number. What's your hobby? Gymming. Cool, when did you start? Recently. Do you go by yourself? Yes. Longest 3 minutes of my life. Edit to add: yes, I did try asking open-ended questions like if you can go anywhere without having to worry about anything, where would you go and why? I get dry answers like idk. I couldn't find a common ground or interest. I talked to other members and they experienced the same thing, so he's probably shy or unsure what to do. He did come alone, which is something I really admire since I struggle with going out alone in general. I can't leave because we're all partnered up and I was running out of small talk questions. I don't enjoy interrogations or forced conversations. I did briefly mention other people to him who I think he would share common interests with. He did hung out at the after social with the crowd I was with, but didn't talk to anyone. I didn't know how to include him. I didn't want to hold him hostage. I'm lost. I have nothing to work with. Gymming is the most unusual gerund I've ever encountered. Rudeness to others. Also, if they keep complaining about other people and their interactions with them. In my mind sounds like the common denominator to all the issues you're having with people is you. If everything smells like shit all day, check the bottom of your shoe. If we're talking IRL and they keep checking their phone, no thanks. There was a Twitter post where some girl was raging about a dude turning his phone over, screen down, when they sat down for a lunch date. She was 100% convinced he was hiding a wife or GF or something because of it. Turns out he was just a considerate person and knows a screen-up phone will have distractions and he was there to see her. It never crossed my mind that turning your phone face down could even be interpreted to mean that. A complete lack of ability to have a conversation. Like one-word answers or thinking lol is a response. Another bad one is the one-uppers or people that are clearing bragging so hard they are lying. Oh man, I hope people don't feel this way about me. I'm not the best conversationalist, but goddamn I'm trying. Sometimes I just don't know what to say. Lol. Someone who just feeds off drama. Like doesn't talk about anything else but things that are going on with other people. I'm trying to get to know you, not some random sorority girl and what she did last weekend. Yes. Oof. I forget this type of person exists. Random out of left field insults /put downs. Once a girl I was talking to let me know that I unintentionally said things that put her down. I thought I was just teasing her, but she never felt that I was. Man, the girl flipped my whole world that day. Now I triple think before I even talk anymore. She left me on read that day after I apologized, but it felt like a freight train hit my gut. Glad she told me that. Been improving the way I talk to people from there on out. That kind of playfulness requires a rapport that some people need a really long time to develop. You may think you're getting along well enough to tease each other, but the other person might see your relationship as being in a much earlier stage. I've worked with a few playful folks and it's sad to see them alienate so many people. I've learned they don't have bad intentions, just bad execution. Negativing. Such a slimy idea put forth by the worst people. The diagnosis may also be just an asshole depending on context. When they keep interrupting you while you're trying to speak. Especially when you get asked a question and before you can answer they either ask another one or interject something completely irrelevant. I have ADHD, so I definitely interrupt people without meaning to. When I do, I always immediately apologize and ask them to continue what they were saying. I'm trying super hard to work on that issue, but hopefully people don't get too upset as long as I acknowledge the mistake. Edit typo. Same. I don't mean to interrupt. The thought comes to my head and I either have to say it or forget by the time it's my turn to speak. I'm trying to work on it, but sometimes when I work hard to remember how I'm going to respond I stop listening to what they are saying and then it becomes physically clear that I stopped listening. It's frustrating. No sense of humor would be tough to get past. I have a good sense of humor, but it's hard when first meeting someone because people have different sense of humor. I usually hold back a little until I get to know them better. I've had people take things the wrong way when I was joking about something because they didn't know my sense of humor and I didn't know what type of humor they liked. Are you me? And sometimes I sense a good vibe, and I just be myself and they get scared. Lol, now I'm always observing before talking. A girl I took out on a first date spent a decent amount of time talking about how much money she would get when her parents died. They were both happy and healthy in their 50s. She also told me the music I had on, it was the radio, sucked, and that her dad told her what real music was and I needed to listen to that. Then she said her parents told her she was conceived to a Jimi Hendrix song, so she knew what good music was because it was in her DNA. She was so busy talking about herself that she didn't notice I did a 3-point turn and headed right back to her house. What did you say to her when you got back to her house? A simple out. Or something longer perhaps? Go on now, git. That doesn't make her special. There's about a 2-year period in American history where everyone was either conceived to or by Jimi Hendrix. When they talk at you and leave you with an opportunity to speak in between topics. Sometimes followed up with, why are you so quiet? Ooh boy, I was in a serious relationship with someone who would not let me get a word in during conversation. I would have to damn near shout a few words to get her to stop, which she would angrily tell me not to interrupt her and let her finish. When she would finish, I had forgotten most of the points I wanted to bring up, then she'd accuse me of not participating in our conversations, how she had to do all the work. It was horrible. Trying to impress me with money or discussions of things they buy with their money when they are clearly attempting to show off that they have a lot. Same thing with connections, like great, you know an important person. These always seem like thinly veiled attempts to cover up feelings of ineptitude, lack of true friends, or just inferiority complex in general. Trying to impress me with money or discussions of things they buy with their money when they are clearly attempting to show me they have a lot. That's my cousin. She manages to say the price of her clothes at least twice in the first 5 minutes, then she proceeds to talk about her Mercedes, her iPhone and her expensive handbags. I realize I do the reverse of this. Love a good deal. Let me tell you about this $8 shirt or free desk I got from an old job. Getting sexual too fast. If we haven't even met, I don't want to talk dirty with you or have the entire conversation dominated by what sexual preferences you have. Sending unsolicited nudes also comes into this. Let's start with a regular conversation. I usually say something like, okay, if you want to talk about sex, let's first discuss boundaries and standard /STI testing. Sometimes that goes well or they give up. Met this dude at my neighbor's dinner party, and he starts talking about how he went to Europe, and I was like, oh cool, where? And he starts spouting off about European prostitutes in great, vulgar detail. Super specific, but I hate it when people give me a weird look or comments when I tell them about my special interests. It's hard for me to open up about my interests because of that exact reason. What are your special interests? Yay, what are your special interests? One thing I discovered after UI was that I had a tendency to go on too much about subjects that interest me, to the point that people regretted opening that Pandora's box. People had been too polite to point it out to me. Not saying that is the case with you, of course, but I became much more aware of how much information I was dumping on people vs how many questions they actually asked, and found a happy balance where I don't sound like I'm being closed off, but I give people the option to change subject if they decide it's not something they are interested in. When they start the conversation with a gossip. An example is my experience with this woman in my daughter's preschool, before the pandemic, who would start a conversation about this/that person, anyone she knows that I knew nothing about, and she claims she has connections with certain well-known people. Really off-putting, and it was just the first week of classes. Edit, to clarify since others can't distinguish between a gossip and sharing about a personal experience. You know she's talking about you, too.